great ready-to-go meal kits. They're all the rage, and out here in the country, I like to make my own. There's barbecue chicken pizza with spicy slaw, all portioned, prepped, and ready to go. I'm pulling everything together for an Asian-style veggie stir-fry with all the components on standby to cook in a flash. Then, for my Alfredo pasta bake, sauces, pasta, and topping are the ingredients of a delicious time-saving dinner. And finally, stuffed bell peppers for a snappy, fresh-cooked meal in minutes, where all the hard work is done in advance. Check out that fridge. Homemade meal kits are the way to go. Welcome to my frontier. We are always busy around here between ranch work, schoolwork, and everything else life throws at us. Fortunately, I figured out a way to survive these crazy times. Ready-to-go meal kits. That way I can whip up a fresh meal in no time at all. I just spent the morning making 4 kits. Now I'm gonna head to town to work at our office for a bit, and while I'm out and about, I'll tell you about all the kits I made, starting with barbecue chicken pizza. Meal kits are so big right now. Lots of people subscribe to services that deliver all the components to the front door. I like meal kits too, but I like to spend a little time here and there making my own. That way, when it's dinner time, I can just pull out the elements, throw them together, and dinner's ready. Barbecue chicken pizza with spicy slaw makes the best meal kit. I've just been browning some chicken. I like to use chicken thighs for this recipe because it's really flavorful and tender. And now, I'll start on the sauce. The first ingredient is a couple of sliced red onions. They need to soften, and it takes a couple of minutes or so. Then minced garlic. I'll give it a few minutes. And then a bottle of barbecue sauce. It's a great shortcut ingredient. In a long recipe like this, you need a little help. Now the chicken needs to finish cooking, so I'm gonna nestle each piece right down into this sauce. And it's gonna get so tender and so flavorful. Some of the flavor of the chicken will go into the sauce. The whole thing is just gonna be a miracle. I'll put the lid on the skillet to help the cooking process. Turn the heat down, and the chicken's gonna finish cooking for about 45 minutes. Now I'm gonna get to work on the pizza crust. I'll start with 4 cups of flour. I'm using a 2-cup measure to make it easy. You know, if you're making a pizza from start to finish, it can take a really long time, especially if you make your own crust. So pizza is a great kit dinner. If you've got the crust made, that's half the battle right there. I'll add a teaspoon of kosher salt. And now I wanna give the crust a nice flavor, so I'm grating in a clove of garlic. It just adds a little something something to the dough. Tap it on there. And then I'll turn the mixer on low. And I have a 1/3 cup of olive oil. I'll drizzle it in while the mixer goes. It'll slowly incorporate it. Now I have a mixture of warm water and yeast. And it's so nice to let the mixer do all this hard work. It's starting to work a little harder. It's gonna take no time at all for this to come together in a neat ball. Get the paddle off. You have to get your fingers in there and pull the dough off, but it comes apart really easily. It's not an overly sticky dough, which is nice. I'll form it into a ball, and then I'm gonna divide this in half. This pizza crust recipe makes 2 crusts, so you get 2 pizzas for the price of 1, which is really handy. I'll put each half into a little plastic bag, and I'm sealing it with a little bit of space, and it's gonna stay nice and moist inside. It'll rise a little bit, but in the fridge, it should be just fine. Put the other half in. It smells so good. I love yeast, it makes me happy. Now I'll get these crusts with the rest of the kit ingredients. This is for the barbecue chicken pizza. I'm gonna save this crust for another pizza down the line. Now, on top of the barbecue chicken pizza, I'm gonna put a really colorful slaw, so I've already prepped some ingredients. Green cabbage, red cabbage. I've got sliced jalapeno and cilantro. That is gonna make a yummy slaw. So now I'll whip up the dressing. It starts with a 1/4 cup of mayonnaise, give or take, and a 1/4 cup of milk. This is a really basic slaw dressing. You really can't go wrong with it. A couple of teaspoons of sugar. And to offset that, a splash of vinegar. It needs a little bit of salt and some cayenne for heat. And then I'll just get the lid on, shake it up. All right, that's the dressing. So once the dough and the slaw elements were done, the kit was 2/3 of the way complete. I'll tell you what, once you start making meal kits, you'll be hooked for life. Up next, I'm shredding barbecue chicken and sharing how the pizza kit comes together. Then it's a spicy veggie stir fry that goes from pan to plate in a matter of minutes. Spinach Alfredo pasta bake for an Italian fast fix, and stuffed bell peppers that put dinner on a table in a jiffy. I'm just here at our family office in town. So while I work through my mountain of tasks, let me finish telling you about barbecue chicken pizza. It's an incredibly fast meal, especially when everything's made ahead of time. I've I've made the dough. I've prepped all the ingredients for the slaw. Now I'll just finish up the barbecue chicken for the pizza. I'm pulling the chicken out of this luscious sauce. It's been cooling for a bit, so it's not overly hot. Now I just need to shred the meat. It is so tender, it is absolutely falling off the bone. All right, that's all shredded. Now all the chicken goes into a plastic bag. And you can use whatever storage vessels you want. I use plastic bags, and sometimes I'll reuse them if they're not too messed up. You can do glass containers if you prefer to stack things in the fridge. Foil containers work. Just use what you have in your kitchen. And I've still got this luscious sauce to deal with. This is going to serve as the sauce for the pizza. It'll go right on top of the crust. Get the lid on. And I'll get these onto the kit tray, all ready to go. I've got the dough, all the slaw ingredients, and I popped the mozzarella cheese on here, so it'll be all ready. Now that is one meal kit done. I'm gonna get this in the fridge. Now, making all of the elements of the pizza took a little while, but when it came to cooking it, there was nothing to it at all. And of course, that is the whole point of meal kits. It makes dinner time such a cinch. The dough comes first. It's rolled out onto a floured board and onto an oiled baking sheet. I spread the sauce all over the surface. Then comes a layer of mozzarella slices, a scattering of the shredded barbecue chicken. Then I bake it in a 475-degree oven for 12 to 15 minutes. I tell you, pizza has never been faster. And now for the slaw. Green cabbage goes into a bowl with red cabbage and jalapeno. The dressing gets poured over, then roughly chopped cilantro. Toss it all together, and that's the slaw. Now the pizza's done when the crust is golden and the toppings are bubbly. The slaw is piled on top, and this meal kit marvel is ready to go. I tell you, all the advanced work really pays off. Not only is that pizza a magical meal, it takes no time at all to rustle up. And the next meal kit is just as good. Stir fries are a really fast thing to cook, but what takes time is prepping all the ingredients ahead of time. So I'm putting together a spicy veggie stir fry kit. It is going to make this dinner so simple. I've got a bunch of veggies that I chopped up, and I'm going to move on to the sauce. It starts with half a cup of soy sauce, some sherry. I'm going to add a couple of tablespoons of cornstarch, also sriracha. It's nice and spicy and has fantastic flavor. A couple of tablespoons of brown sugar and some fresh minced ginger. Now the lid goes on. In addition to all the veggies, I also cooked some noodles, tossed them in a little bit of sesame oil, and those are going to be all ready to serve up the stir fry on. I've got the garnishes ready. The sauce is now ready. So that is meal kit number 2. It's going to be dinner at my fingertips. So let's fast forward a second. Picture this scene. The boys and lad are at basketball practice. Paige and I get home and we're ravenous. So I grab the kit and whip up dinner in no time. From fridge to table in minutes. I throw chunks of onion in a pan with some peanut oil, then add a red bell pepper and a yellow bell pepper. I cook them for a couple of minutes, throw in minced garlic, large wedges of zucchini, and give them a couple of minutes. Next, half baby corns, broccoli florets, and I pour in the spicy sauce and stir that all together for a couple of minutes until the sauce is really thick. Of course, stir fry has to have a great side, and you can't beat noodles. I just throw them into a pan with some vegetable oil. When they're hot, I add some soy sauce, and they're done. To serve it up, I just heap some noodles onto a plate, pile on the spicy stir fry, sprinkle over some sliced green onions, and a scattering of sesame seeds. Dinner is officially ready. So as you can see, just a little advanced planning can have really tasty results. Up next, spinach Alfredo pasta bake and stuffed bell peppers loaded with rice, meat, and cheese. Boy, do I love meal kits. I've just been working in our office in downtown Pawhuska, and now I'm getting ready to head home. So while I do that, let me walk you through a couple more of the meal kits I made this morning. They are so convenient and a godsend on really busy days. Here goes the first one. Spinach Alfredo pasta bake is a real favorite in my household, especially with the kids. It's become one of my go-to meal kits. I started by sauteing some mushrooms with a little butter, and I have a bag of spinach. The whole thing just goes right in, if it will fit. Now I have some finely minced garlic. It's going to take no time at all for this to wilt. You know, and some casseroles you can assemble ahead of time all the way and keep them in the fridge until you bake them. This one's a little tricky because it has lots of things that if you leave them for too long, they might get soggy and a little gloopy. I have found it's best to keep these elements separate, and then when I decide to make it for dinner, I can just throw it all together. This is ready to come off the heat. I have a dish ready to go. I'm gonna let it cool before I put the lid on. It's always nice when you're making a meal kit to have everything out, all the vessels you're gonna need. Now I'll use the same skillet to whip up a delicious sauce. Of course, it needs a little more butter. Now to the butter, I'll add just a splash of wine. Now for more liquid, I'm using vegetable broth. You can use chicken broth if that's what you've got. Either one works just great. I'm gonna measure some really decadent ingredients. A cup of half and half. And for thickness, a half a cup of heavy cream. Can't make Alfredo sauce without cream. This is really bubbling up. So the cream goes in. I'll add some salt and pepper. And then I'll turn off the heat. And I have finely grated Parmesan cheese. I'll add most of this in. I'm gonna use the rest for the topping, so I'll set that aside for now. Oh my goodness, that looks fantastic. Now this needs to cool before I transfer it to the vessel for the fridge. So while that happens, I'll work on the topping. More butter. I'll swirl it around the pan and let it melt. Panko crumbs. Such a delightful, crispy, crunchy ingredient. And I'll turn the heat off. Stir them around. I just want the butter to coat the crumbs. All right, the crumbs are all coated in the butter. And if that wasn't enough, I'm gonna sprinkle in the rest of the Parmesan. Oh my gosh. Now I'll let that cool, and I'll stir together the ricotta mixture. I've got some ricotta cheese, goes into the bowl. Conveniently, this is the same bowl that I'm gonna store it in the fridge. Now I'm gonna give the ricotta a lemony edge. I zested a lemon. I'll sprinkle in salt and pepper. And then I'll grab some parsley. I'll sprinkle that in and stir this all together. That's the ricotta mixture. Super simple. The lid goes right on. And onto the tray, I've got some short pasta that I boiled. I tossed it in just a tiny bit of oil to keep it nice and moist. Now the lid is ready to go on the veggie mixture. I could put this mixture in an omelet right now and have myself a snack. I have a cute little container for the Parmesan panko topping, that is. Say that fast 10 times. Parmesan panko topping. You could stir some minced parsley into the topping too. That would be scrumptious. Get this lid on. Oh, there is something so satisfying about getting these meal kits ready. Now for the sauce. It's gonna thicken as it cools in the fridge. And it's really the right consistency. You don't want it to be overly thick or it'll just make the pasta dish too much. Get the lid on. Okay, meal kit number 3 is done. I'll get this into the fridge with the other ones. Look at all of this. This makes me a very happy woman. So you're probably wondering how this yummy dish comes together. Well, this is all you have to do. I put the pasta into a buttered baking dish, then add the vegetables, followed by the sauce, and stir it all together. Then I spoon the ricotta mixture on top, pushing it down into the pasta. Sprinkle over the crumb topping, then cover it, and get it into a 350-degree oven. After 20 minutes, the foil comes off, and the bake gets another 20 minutes. Then it's all done. Oh my gosh, it looks so good, and wait till you see inside. Everyone gets a hearty helping, and I just serve it with some simple arugula and a drizzle of balsamic vinegar. Oh boy, spinach Alfredo pasta. What's not to love? And I think the fact that the kit helps you save so much time, it makes it taste even better. Up next, stuffed bell peppers. Take meat sauce, rice, cheese, and peppers, and you have my 4th and final meal kit. For recipes from this episode, go to foodnetwork.com/pioneerwoman. Well, I'm coming to the end of a busy day and I'm headed home. But thanks to the meal kits I made earlier, I've got dinner all covered. I made 4 different meal kits, and there's one more I need to tell you about. Stuffed bell peppers. It is a comfort food classic, and it rocks my world every time I serve it. First, the peppers. I like a mix of colors and remove the stems, seeds, and as much membrane as possible. Then I throw them into a bag. Chop up the pepper from around the stalk. I use that in a minute. Then for the filling, I get half a pound of lean ground beef into a skillet and cook it until it begins to brown. Season it with salt and pepper, then take it out onto a plate lined with a paper towel. Okay, next step is the vegetables. So I add a couple of tablespoons of olive oil to the wiped out skillet, add a finely diced onion, the chopped peppers, and cook them for 3 minutes or so. Then I throw in a diced zucchini and a couple of cloves of minced garlic. They need a minute or so of cooking time. Then I add seeded diced tomatoes, a couple of pinches of red pepper flakes. Then the beef goes back into the pan, along with a cup of mixed long grain and wild rice. And that's the filling. When it's cooled, it just goes onto the kit tray with the peppers and a bag of grated pepper jack cheese. And it's into the fridge with meal kit number 4. So let me tell you how the dish comes together in all its colorful glory. The meat, rice, and veggies are heated in the microwave, and I just stir in the grated pepper jack cheese, Then fill the peppers with the delicious concoction. I top each one with some more cheese, pour a little water into the baking dish, drizzle the peppers with olive oil, cover them with foil, and bake them for 30 minutes at 350. Then the foil comes off, and it goes back in for another 15 minutes. So when the peppers are soft and the cheese is melted, it's time to get dinner on the table. They need nothing more than a sprig of parsley for garnish and a crusty chunk of French bread. And there you have it, the final part of my meal kit marathon. 4 great ready-to-go meal kits. They're all the rage, and out here in the country, I like to make my own. There's barbecue chicken pizza with spicy slaw, all portioned, prepped, and ready to go. I'm pulling everything together for an Asian-style veggie stir-fry with all the components on standby to cook in a flash. Then, for my Alfredo pasta bake, sauces, pasta, and topping are the ingredients of a delicious time-saving dinner. And finally, stuffed bell peppers for a snappy, fresh-cooked meal in minutes, where all the hard work is done in advance. Check out that fridge. Homemade meal kits are the way to go. Welcome to my frontier. We are always busy around here between ranch work, schoolwork, and everything else life throws at us. Fortunately, I figured out a way to survive these crazy times. Ready-to-go meal kits. That way I can whip up a fresh meal in no time at all. I just spent the morning making 4 kits. Now I'm gonna head to town to work at our office for a bit, and while I'm out and about, I'll tell you about all the kits I made, starting with barbecue chicken pizza. Meal kits are so big right now. Lots of people subscribe to services that deliver all the components to the front door. I like meal kits too, but I like to spend a little time here and there making my own. That way, when it's dinner time, I can just pull out the elements, throw them together, and dinner's ready. Barbecue chicken pizza with spicy slaw makes the best meal kit. I've just been browning some chicken. I like to use chicken thighs for this recipe because it's really flavorful and tender. And now, I'll start on the sauce. The first ingredient is a couple of sliced